So today I've totally fallen in love with a deck. It's explosive, super fun, with so many synergies, and in Mardu, my favourite colours. You don't want to miss this one. Hey everyone, Hex here, and today I've built a deck around attack triggers and how we can exploit them in a big way. But before I start, don't forget to like, and if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe below. It massively helps out, and I want to thank you all for the support that you give this channel. But onto this deck, and this is a human tribal deck built around Roaming Throne, and specifically what happens when you click attack. My last video used the throne to name warrior in a combo deck. Check it out if you haven't yet, but if you haven't seen this card before, it's a 4-drop 4/4 colourless golem that says when it ETBs, name a creature type. Whenever a creature of that type triggered ability triggers on your side of the battlefield, it triggers a second time, and most of our cards have amazing attack triggers today, so they invariably happen multiple times. To help with this strategy, I found space for Isshin, 2 heavens as 1 in this deck. It's a 3-cost 3/4 human samurai that says if a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers an additional time. It's essentially doing exactly what we want in this deck, and this card has been a total MVP for me today that seemingly won countless games when paired with the next 3 cards. So there are 3 humans in this deck that create creatures when attacking occurs. They are Akim Pakal, a 3-drop Boros creature from Lost Caverns that says whenever a non-known creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on Anim and create that many gnomes tapped and attacking. So when Throne is on the battlefield, Akim Pakal would get 1/+1 counter, then create a gnome, then get a second one and create 2 further gnomes. If it already has a couple of counters on it pre-attack, believe me, this will be a lethal attack. We're running Adeline that makes an attacking token when it attacks, and Myrel, who creates an army of soldiers, and we do have a few soldiers in this deck. These ones are not tapped and attacking, but pretty nice as blockers. Our other major win con in this deck is Mishra, claimed by Gix. Whenever you attack, each opponent loses X life, where X is the number of attacking creatures, and Mishra can single-handedly win you the game, especially with Isshin or Roaming Throne on the battlefield, as your creatures do not even have to damage your opponent. We have Brutal Cathar, who can be used to pick off 2 creatures if Roaming Throne is on the battlefield. That's a big surprise for your opponent. And I've got a copy of Inti. It helps give trample to maybe an Adeline later on in the game to help get over the line. When it attacks, you may discard a card, or when you do, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature, and it gains trample until end of turn. And when you discard a card, you exile the top card of your library, and you can play that this turn. It's a nice one-off, and it's a nice 2-drop for early and late game. I've got Anointed Peacekeeper, pretty much solely used to keep some fools at bay, and I did manage to beat all those board wipe decks today, which I was happy with, because we can rebuild very fast, or basically just beat them down before they could even get to the card. I have Thalias, which are essential. In fact, I may sometimes just mull to get this in my opening hand, depending what I do have in my opening hand. A couple of Coppercoat Vanguards, which give +1/+0 wards to fellow humans. I think this card is a slight overkill, so I went from 4 copies right the way down to 2. We've got Lunart Veterans, which gain a lot of life for us, and a great 1-drop, and so is Greedy Freebooter. When it dies, you get to scry 1 and make a treasure. Pair this with your thrones for 2 scries and 2 treasures. And finally, some Fanatical Offerings for some late game card draw. Got 24 lands today, including Cavern of Souls, which makes all of our creatures uncounterable, and that's the deck. I played so many games with this deck today, refining it game by game to see what I believe is the best version for the meta that I was facing. This is my second take of this video, as my first one had all the audio from my recordings corrupted, so I can confidently state you will not be disappointed if you play this deck. It's so much fun to play. Sometimes I found it hard to work out exactly how much damage Mishra can do, so don't be afraid to just click attack all, as you will invariably have the damage. Anyway, if you have any thoughts on this deck or any cool combos with Roaming Throne, you can let me know in the comments below. Find me over on Twitter, and as always, thank you for watching. Alright, on the play, pretty nice hand. So we have a turn 1 play. A lot of our cards are cheap, so a lot of our opening hands are normally pretty nice. There's a legendary creature theme, sort of sub-theme running through our deck as well, so haven't got the full playset of every single card. I don't like playing more than 3 copies of cheap legendary creatures. Speaking of legendary creatures, we just drew Isshin, so that paired with Akim Pakal and the Lunart Veteran on the battlefield is hopefully going to help us against what appears to be a Mone Red deck. And opponent with a couple of creatures here, and they attack us, which is fine by me, leaving my veteran alone. So we'll name human here. And then let's go for Anim. And we will definitely attack with the veteran. Pops a counter onto Anim. Makes a 1-1 gnome. And they really need to deal with this 2-3. If Isshin was on the battlefield, that would have doubled its trigger there. But we don't have that on the battlefield just yet. And opponent with Nahiri's Warcrafting, which is a decent card to deal with our creature there. But I'm fine if they want to use their sort of premium removal quite early. So we find a greedy freebooter. You know, I've been super impressed with this card. I just feel like for a 1-drop, to scry and create a treasure when it dies is amazing. Looking in the opponent's hand here with Anointed Peacekeeper. Good name, Flame of Fire. Yeah, they can kill the Peacekeeper with the Stoke the Flames, but they'll take up their whole turn. And we're kind of trying to slow the game down a little bit before we can get some of our game-winning spells out there. And opponent did draw a Lightning Strike. And then they play with fire. 1-1. But this is all damage going to our creatures and not our face. As we find another veteran off the top. You love to see it. We will play that. And unfortunately we don't have Akim Pakal, so we'll go for the freebooter here. Gain life. And I guess we can't play the veteran, can we? Because it is a spirit cleric and not a human. Alright. Didn't think about that. Probably still would have played the freebooter and the veteran that turn anyway. But opponent with a Charming Scoundrel. We do have other lands in the deck that aren't naming human though. Been a little bit unfortunate with the lands we have drawn in this particular game. Opponent though is destroying our creatures left, right and centre, and I think we're going to need to do a bit of chumping here, otherwise we're going to be in a bit of trouble. Most of our top decks are pretty nice though, and that is a Thalia on top, which I am going to keep. We do get a treasure from the freebooter, so we can double spell this turn with the Thalia. We've also got a treasure there, so we can cast these veterans from exile, or from our graveyard if we want to, but let's go for Thalia, let's go for Brutal Cathar, and let's take care of the Feldon. Normally I'd go for the Swift Spear, but I don't really want to block Feldon at the moment. We know the opponent has a Stoke the Flames anyway. They're going to be able to deal with our Brutal Cathar if they want to, but again, it would take up their whole turn. And they do play Stoke the Flames, and this time they're going for the Thalia. Okay. And attack with their 2-2. I'm fine with that. And there is our Mishra. Alright, here we go. Mishra is going to drain the opponent for X, where X is the amount of attacking creatures. Most importantly, though, it is gaining us some life. So Isshin here next turn, and we just attack with everyone. Would drain the opponent for 2. I probably wouldn't attack with the Cathars unless they want to attack us now. They don't. Okay, there's Adeline. So whatever happens, I probably want to attack with Mishra. Let's go for Adeline. Get a 4 toughness creature on the battlefield. Another card, the opponent's going to have very specific cards to deal with. And let's attack with Mishra here. Yeah, they could triple block if they wanted to. I guess that still wouldn't kill Mishra, no. Opponent down to 7, but we are up to 10. So the small amount of life gain we've got here is keeping us in the game against Mone Red. They find an adversary off the top, and I'm pretty sure they've got quite a few goodies in their graveyard. Let's see. It's Warcrafting, it looks like. Yeah, and now they can take care of any of our creatures here. So their greedy play would be taking the Cathar to get their Feldon back. They've gone for Mishra, which is their best bet, I would have thought. Hopefully they attack. They don't. And we find a Mishra off the top. That's the second time in the game that that's happened where the opponent has destroyed one of our creatures. And we've just top-decked another copy. And let's get in there with Adeline. Going to drain the opponent for 2 because Adeline creates a attacking creature. And that triggers before Mishra's trigger. We haven't really had an opportunity to get this Isshin onto the battlefield. I wish we did. Opponent is double blocking Adeline, which is fine. Get some of their creatures off the board. As long as we keep hitting creatures off the top of our decks, we should be okay. Second Isshin is not great. I hope I'm saying Isshin right. I think it might be Isshin. But let me know if you know how to pronounce that name correctly. I guess we have no attacks because unless they can kill us or destroy one of our creatures, we have a lethal next turn. Just attack with everybody. But no, opponent finds an adversary off the top again. What a great game of Magic this one is. We have just enough life gain to keep us in the game, but they've got just enough defense here to stop themselves from dying. They take care of our Brutal Cathar, which means we do not have lethal next turn. And they attack with Feldum. That's fine. They attack with Squee as well. Okay, they're attacking with everyone, it looks like. That would be lethal for us. No, they have to hold at least 2 creatures back. So we attack with everyone next turn. We take them to 1. We go up 2 life points. We're down to 7. That is a secluded courtyard. Not the best draw. But I guess what we can do here is actually name Cleric and get one of these veterans back onto the battlefield. And yeah, we just attack with both, I reckon. Just drain the opponent for 2 twice. Put them to 1. They have to double block. And we go up to 11, and yeah, this should be quite good. We'll even play this other Isshin off from our hand as a blocker. And yeah, we just need to click attack next turn, and we should be good. Opponent with Phoenix Chick off the top, though. That is not going to be good enough. Not only is it a creature that is only 1 power, it cannot block. And they are having a kind of Hail Mary attack here. We will just block where we can. And we have a lethal attack back. What a great game. I really love that one. And it just goes to show how cool Mishra is in the face of blockers. Alright, on the draw. And I do like opening hands with the Roaming Throne. Roaming Throne, definitely one of my favourite creatures out of Lost Caverns of Ixalan. It's so versatile. I really love cards that can be basically plopped into any existing deck and make them better or make a new aspect of it. And the Roaming Thrones have definitely done that. They've turned all the triggers off of any kind of tribe into a real game-winning strategy. Opponent with Found in the Third Path, no idea what they're up to. We got our greedy freebooter down because we managed to find a secluded courtyard off the top. Kind of like where we are. Fortunately, these are not Cavern of Souls, so they could easily counter our spell here. But we'll go for it. Anim Pakal. And it resolves. Opponent with Otherworldly Gaze. Okay. Surveils 3. But we're going to get an attack in here. And crucially, that gets a counter onto our Anim Pakal, Thousandth Moon. They're going to have to deal with that, otherwise that is going to get out of control next turn with a Roaming Throne on the battlefield. They flash back their gaze. And play a land. Well, we just drew Adeline, so we can't actually win by playing the Roaming Throne. So let's go for Adeline. And we'll attack our opponent. I don't know if this is greedy. Might be. But we get him down to 10. And next turn, we've definitely got lethal in a couple of different ways, depending on what blockers they put up. Squirming Emergence for our opponent. And there's Galta. Oh my days. Wow. Well, haven't this table's turned here? There's an Atali, a Titan. They make a 4-4. Wowzers. Okay. They find a Cruel Somnophage as well. Okay, so we're not out of this. We can play the Roaming Throne here. And then next turn, find a way to try and win the game. As long as we don't die this turn. Yeah, had we played the Roaming Throne and not Adeline, I think we could have won this turn. But wasn't to know they were going to play a Galta into a Thalia and Titan. That is amazing. Probably should have seen that coming, but... Another Squirming Emergence, and this time a Jin-Gitaxias. But I believe we have lethal here. Hopefully you can spot it, because... Just checking this, I haven't seen this card for a minute here. Yeah, we'll play the Veteran, because I can. We'll play a Brutal Cathar here. And Brutal Cathar and Roaming Throne. Little synergy here, because we can pick off 2 of their creatures. We'll take care of their 2 dinos. And this should be a lethal attack. And this is how powerful Akim Pakal, Adeline, Roaming Throne is. And look, with the Veteran as well, we've gone all the way up to 36, 40 life. And I don't think, no matter how they block here, they can survive. A cool game of Magic here. I do like the opponent's deck, and I don't think many decks would have ended up beating their deck after they did what they did. But yeah, we get the job done. Okay, on the draw. Like this hand, it's pretty nice. Got Cavern of Souls here. Makes our humans now uncounterable. So, as I mentioned in my sort of deck tech, I played this deck all morning, and when I came to reviewing the footage, the audio was not working properly, and it sounded very bad. So I started again, but with the first games I played, 3 games I had opponents try and counter my humans from me casting them with Caverns of Souls, and twice they scooped it straight up. I don't know if it's just the UI isn't that great, or what, or people aren't used to that card, but yeah, it's such a cool addition to our tribal decks in Standard at the moment. But onto this game, and yeah, we've had a pretty decent start here. Opponent with a Blossoming Tortoise, but we've managed to get so much onto the battlefield. It's just, it doesn't stop for us at the minute. We've got Roaming Throne here. Adeline's going to create a couple of tokens. And I guess I could have attacked there with the other 2/1/1s. If they'd blocked the freebooter, the Roaming Throne would have got 2 triggers out of it. But opponent is pretty dead unless they can deal with the whole board here. Oh, they can! Terror Tide. Alright, nice. That is a board wipe, where it does X damage, where X is the amount of non-land permanents in your graveyard. Honestly, I didn't expect that. That's the first time I've seen that card actually in Standard. I had it in my pre-release. But we'll play Thalia here, we'll play Anim Pakal. One thing I like about my deck is that it rebuilds pretty quickly. They could well have another board wipe, but so be it. Opponent with an Urborg Lurgoyf. 6/7, difficult for us to get through. We're going to have to go wide, and we can do that with our creatures. And No One Left Behind brings back Undead Butler. So we had a decent start, and they definitely pulled it back here. But we've managed to rebuild, like I mentioned, and I don't think we have any decent attacks here. We need them to attack with this Urborg Lurgoyf. And that is a Writhing Necromass, which is a 5/5 with Death Touch. And they do attack. We'll take the damage. Need a Brutal Cathar or something. Yeah, there's Fanatical Offering, okay. So, obviously this doesn't work brilliantly with Thalia, so I only got a couple in the deck, but got it in the deck for situations just like this, where we need to try and dig further to find something better. And that's Myrel. I've only got 1 copy of that in the deck. And I think I'm going to well, I kept it on top because I feel like it stops them from using their Restless Cottage on our turn, which is a card they might be hiding behind up there. And we'll take the time, though, to explore onto Akim Pakal, I guess, because that puts the counter so that we can start creating more gnomes when we get in there with other creatures. Roaming Throne is the perfect cards to see on top, I reckon. So we have a Roaming Throne for next turn. Myrel, make some soldiers. We do have a few soldiers in the deck, Thalia being one, Vanguard. So I think it's a cool card to have the Myrel just to create some extra bodies. And especially as Akim Pakal and Adeline are legendary. So do we play Myrel here or do we play the Throne? I'm going for Myrel. Like I said, it shuts down the opponent dealing with our things on our turn. And no attacks just yet. I probably will attack next turn. They do get in there with their Goyf. And they get in there with their 5/5. Okay. Well, we have to block, because this is 10 damage. We'll block Urborg, Lurgoyf in case they have a way to pump that power at instant speed. Hopefully no more Death Touchers. It is a Blanchwood Prowler. It is just a 1/1. They cannot activate their land. Surely this is lethal. We'll play Roaming Throne here. Naming Human. And we will, with Roaming Throne and with Isshin, this has got to be a huge attack for our opponent. Is this lethal? It might well be. So that's 9 gnomes coming at them. 21 soldiers created. Wow. Yeah, I mean, this is lethal because they can't activate their land, animate their land. Wow, what a way to win the game there. Alright, on the play, up against Super Magic Banana, and our hand is full of a load of 3-drops, but not a problem. We will keep it. Hopefully not off to a fast start for our opponent here, and keeps us in the game. And they have a Zeotora's Proving Ground, not giving away any information, so we draw another 3-drop. With Anointed Peacekeeper, but I kind of like Anointed Peacekeeper as our turn 3 play. And let's see what's up here. Let's see what's going on in their hand. And it looks like they are a domain control deck with Atraxa and Herd Migration. We've all seen this deck before. They do have a Sunfall and a Depopulate. I will name Depopulate, mainly to slow them down. We could win before they have a chance to fire off Sunfall. With Anim and Roaming Throne in our hands. Needs to hit a land drop. And Adeline. Okay. Well, let's get the Akim Pakal down. And attack our opponent for 4. Next turn with Roaming Throne, we can do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I think we do 13 damage. I guess that's not lethal. Okay. Opponents managed to ramp their way up to a board wipe next turn. We can only do 13 damage if we play Roaming Throne. And Brutal Cathar, not so great here, as they would just get their Stomper back. It's going to attack. We can't win the game this turn. So we won't overcommit. And we'll pop the opponent down to 7, and we'll just try and rebuild again. Which I have noticed I've done quite a lot against board wipe decks today, which are kind of the nemesis of creature-heavy builds. Opponent with Depopulate. Huh. Well, kind of lucky we didn't do anything because we have Plaza of Heroes open there. We can save our Akim Pakal, and yeah, I mean, we'll just play our Isshin, and this should be lethal. opponent needed to Sunfall then. I know they didn't necessarily know what was going on, but that was open mana and that was an open play. And yeah, we've taken a win. I don't think we should have won that game. Alright, on the draw here. And opponent with a mountain and a Kumano faces Kakazan. So probably an aggro deck. And in that case, we are going to need to get our Thalia down quickly and maybe some life gain. So our hand isn't great, especially as they now have a 3/3 Feldon. Adeline blocks that okay. And we'll play our Cavern of Souls, we'll name Human, and we'll just get Thalia down, I guess. Inti is not that great here. Inti... I started off the whole deck with a few more copies of Inti. Not as good as I thought it might be. It does give Trample much later in the game if you have a giant Adeline, which is what I have used it for. But opponent with a Godric, and yeah, this is a very powerful start for them. We need to somehow hang on and hope that they find a way to brick a few turns. We did find a Veteran though. So we can go Veteran into Inti, gain a life. And Chump. But we do have Eiganjo. So I think we'll just use that. Try and pick off their Godric. Then maybe next turn find a way to start gaining some life back. The 3/3 Feldon is a bit of a bane of our existence here. An opponent with a Chandra, well, that's not a problem right now. That's a problem for a few turns in the future. And they do get in there with Godric, and they get in there with Feldon as well. So we could block Feldon, but that leaves us kind of shields down. Let's deal with Godric. And I guess we just take 3. Okay, Roaming Throne. 4-drop. Sweet card, not good enough right now. We'll go for Adeline. Gain a life, and I think we have to attack with Thalia. Hopefully they chump Thalia with Isshin. That would be nice. They don't. They chump. Well, they block our 1/1. Yeah, and we're on 6, so we're pretty much dead to many of their spells. But we're hanging in there as best as we can. The aggro decks are probably our worst matchup here. Put it with another Godric. Chandra and Adversary, which is going to turn Godric into a 4/4. And I guess they can just pump that to a 5/4. So yeah, definitely a difficult match here against Mone Red. But I feel like if you can stabilize, it's not too bad. They did have a few clutch draws with their Godrics. And yeah, we'll take that on the chin. Okay, on the play. And this is a hand I will keep, but it's not exciting, is it? We'll say Human though, and we'll get the Freebooter down. Fast becoming one of my favourite cards. My favourite uncommons. An opponent with Jetmir's Garden, okay. So, it would be nice to play against a Naya deck, but presumably they're just a domain deck. With Jetmir's Garden, into Swamp, up the Beanstalk. Classic start here for our opponent, but up the Beanstalk, such a great card that we have no way of dealing with in our deck. We are literally just creatures, except for 2 copies of Fanatical Offering, which I squeezed in the deck for situations like this, in case the opponent wants to board wipe. At least we get some value out of it. That was Ziatora's Proving Ground for our opponent. And we find Adeline. Well, I always like to play this card if I can. And we will attack our opponent here for 5. Nope, they have go for the throat, okay. So they had to take care of our Vanguard there. Everything else had ward. There's a binding. Okay. Maybe if we'd played the Roaming Throne last turn, they wouldn't be able to bind the throne because that would have a 2 ward on it, but we'll play the other throne here. Attack the opponent for 2, put him down to 10. And that is a Herb Migration, so they're going to gain some life, annoyingly. But they are starting to find their mana now. Because I feel like they've been a little bit mana screwed so far. And Secluded Courtyard for us, not great. We'll name it Human, and we'll attack our opponent down to 7. So yeah, we're kind of getting there, piece by piece. We're going to need to find a way to break any kind of stalemate if they have a board wipe. Opponent with Invasion Zendikar, they are kind of resigning themselves to going to 1 here. We have so many cards in our deck that can just do a damage by attacking with Adeline, Akim Pakal, Mishra. So the question is, do we Fanatical offering our freebooter here for 2 scries, 2 treasures? Decided against it to get guaranteed 6 damage through and hopefully top decked a card that we can win the game with. Didn't quite get there, but we will put the opponent down to 1. And we'll see how this goes. Hopefully another depopulate like... Oh, it's Sunfall. Okay, Sunfall is a little bit more annoying as they do get a creature out of this. But I'm going to Fanatical offer in our freebooter here to scry 2 and gain 2 treasures. Brutal Cathar, eh? Huh. Brutal Cathar isn't the worst card. And I think because we know we have a Brutal Cathar on top, I'm going to keep it. Brutal Cathar can deal with Atraxas. And opponent only gets a 2/2 token there. We'll take an Uma. And we'll see what we have in the graveyard to bring back out. Ooh. These are tough decisions. There's a Mishra there. So Mishra is amazing because we can actually win without having to necessarily get damage onto the opponent. But went for the Peacekeeper because I feel like I want to know what's going on here. There's only 1 Peacekeeper in the deck. There's a couple of Mishras. So their hand isn't actually that great. Got Go for the Throat, which is probably the most annoying card. We'll certainly say that so that it taxes them when they need to play that. And we have 4 mana available here. I guess the best thing to do... Yeah, we'll play Roaming Throne. Okay, opponent. Let's see if they can predict what we might be able to do. Because I know what's going on in their hand. I'm really glad we played the Peacekeeper. There's a Stomper. And if opponent plays another Stomper, I think we should be good. There we go. Opponent does indeed play another Stomper. So they're ramping away. Everything's coming in tapped though. And I think they are going to have a problem here because their Go for the Throat is taxed. And we should have lethal. We'll just play Isshin. See if they want to activate their 2/2 in response. Not that it matters. Whatever. Let's just play the Brutal Cathar. Brutal Cathar here with Roaming Throne is going to clear 2 blockers. And they have 2 in the way. Make sure that we target a different one. And they can activate their 2/2, but they can only stop 4 damage. And they're going to take 3 from the Peacekeeper. So yeah. Another amazing synergy there between the Brutal Cathar and Roaming Throne. Nice.